Welcome back, everybody. If you didn't know, the How to Manifest Everything Part 3, everything, anything, is up. So make sure you go to my channel, check that out. I'll also leave a link down below in the description. Also, if you're new here, go to the very beginning of the Self-Mastery series, watch all those up to here. And now that you're back here, let's get this one started. All right, so I wanted to go over some frequently asked questions about all of this, some that have been written by me, things that my friends have asked me, and also ones that I tend to see a lot online. The first one I'd have to say is, how do I know if I'm doing it right? Three things: feeling, practice, and results. This is why I tell you to keep practicing the meditations, the grounding, all the exercises I give. Practice, get the feeling down, and also track your results. Get a journal. Write down everything you do. We're going to go over the journal eventually. I'm not sure when yet, but for now, just get a journal and write down things that you are wanting to attract or banish. And then after you've forgotten about them, you might be able to go look back at those and be like, oh, that happened or that happened. So keep a journal, definitely. But yeah, practice, get the feeling down, make sure you're tracking your results, because if you're not getting the right results at all, you're probably doing something wrong. I'd say if you were specifically to tell me like what you were doing, I might be able to pick out what you're doing wrong, but in my opinion, there's no real wrong way, but there also is at the same time, and we'll get onto those down the road. The next one I have to say is, when will it manifest? Now, I hear that it usually tends to be around 3 days, 3 weeks, or 3 months. I've had things manifest in between those times, but most of them end up manifesting in 3s. But it also depends on how fast you're willing to forget about it. As soon as you forget about it is when it gets started working on. And I'd also have to say it depends on the parameters you set in your statement of intent. Now, we haven't really gone over statements of intent on this channel yet, and so I'm going to give a brief description and a little, troubleshooting in this video. Now, let's take a normal statement of intent that you're all familiar with. I will for you all to prosper and have a great day. That is a statement of intent. Now, it's not something that I'm trying to manifest necessarily like a physical thing, but it is still a statement of intent, because we can also use this same power that we use for manifestation for other things internally within ourselves. It doesn't have to be something physical on the outside. And back in the other video when I was talking about how people will screw themselves over by the things that they say, people are constantly making statements of intent. And once you mix emotion and visualization in with that, which usually happens to a lot of people, they're pissed off and they get the anger up, and then they talk about how broke they are, and then next week's months to come, of course they're broke. I mean, they're literally writing down their destiny with the words that they say. Your tongue is a double-edged sword. I don't know what verse that is. I remember it, but if you want to look it up, look it up. But the words that we say are so important. And statement of intents are just as important as well, even though they might not be something that we speak aloud. But writing things down are just as important, just as powerful. Now, I would start out a statement of intent a few good ways. It is my intent. This my intent. This my wish. It is my wish. I will. That's my favorite one that I use all the time. Or this my will. Now, what is it that you want? Okay, this isn't going to be the video where I go over how to figure out what you want, because a lot of people want to automatically cast for money rather than the thing that they do want. And it does get a lot easier when you cast for the thing that you want, because money would automatically be one of the paths to get to it. Remember, this is going to take the path of least resistance. Now, let's say you want $1,000. You would write, I will to have $1,000. Now, earlier in the video when I was talking about how many parameters you add to the video will depend on how fast it happens, because too many parameters will make it a lot harder to do. I'm going to give you an example of how adding parameters looks to this sort of thing. Now, you've taken the statement of intent, I will to have $1,000. And then you can add another parameter on it. It specifies it. You want to be specific with these things, but also at the same time, you don't want it to be too, I would say, too complicated to where the chances of it coming around slim down. But you could add it to, I will to have $1,000 within the next month, or you could say within the next lunar cycle. That does work as well, because that is what the month is based off of. Also, as I've said, you could always cast for the thing you're looking for, such as, I will to banish my debt, or I will to fix my car, or I will to have my car fixed, or whatever the problem of the car that you're looking to fix that thing, or I will to have a new back patio. Now, as I said, I'm not going to go too deep into the what do you want, yada yada this, yada yada that. But if you do cast for the thing that you're looking for that you would have used the money on, it does open up a lot of paths for that to come into your life. Now, another question I hear quite frequently is, what if something bad happens? And this can be an issue. Now, this is why you should always add one of these two things to the end of your statement of intent. Let's say you're still using the I will to have $1,000. Now, it's also better, instead of to say have, to say earn. Because that does work a lot better on the subconscious mind, because you feel more of a deservingness, as if you should deserve this money. So you say I will to have or earn $1,000. Now you can add without harm, or without causing harm to none. Or, on the flip side, you could say, and blessing all involved. I tend to use this one a lot more. However, there are a few things that I don't use it for, because I've also gotten bad results on using it like that in the past. As I said, keep a journal, take good notes, track your results, and you will be able to replicate this. Back to the blessing anybody involved. Why would we do this? What could happen? Well, if you were to say, I will to have $1,000, no parameters really other than the $1,000, that amount, that really just leaves a wide open door for anything to happen, because you could cash for that and the next thing you know, a relative dies and leaves you $1,000. This has been the case for many people who don't put down not just what they want in the statement of intent, but what you don't want out of it. You may want to fix your love life, and you might be intending it to fix your love life between you and your husband or wife, but you don't put down something that would keep your relationship together on there as well, and the next thing you know, you do find a better love, and that's great, but also you lost your husband or wife in the process, and so there are some things we just don't need to happen, and so you want to think very carefully about what it is that you're wanting, and set the parameters to the way you want it to come. Because as I've mentioned, this will take the path of least resistance. Now, I think I gave this in the last video, I'm not sure, but I'm going to tell you a story. Now, there was one time that I was using this to silence somebody. Now, I'm not going to go over the reasons why I was trying to silence this person, other than the fact that what they were talking about at the workplace, I didn't want out yet. It was nothing that I was hiding, it was more of a surprise. And so this individual somehow found out about what I wanted to keep on the down low for a moment. And they start talking about it. And so I want to silence him. Now, a lot of you might be like, that's great, I'd love to silence somebody. No, I didn't want to use silence in my statement of intent. Why? Because something could happen and he accidentally goes mute and is silenced. So what I did was I got real down to the nitty-gritty and figured out what it is that I want out of this. Not like who to attack. There's no attacking. If you want to use this to attack somebody or to gain control or power, sorry, this ain't the place. But I wanted it out of the workplace, at least the workplace. So what my statement of intent was, I will to keep my blank, which was the secret, out of blank, which is the place I was working at the time. Now, that was my statement of intent, And I did the simple candle technique that I used in the last video. That's why I think that I said it in there, but I also think that I didn't. So I want to put this story in here. But either way, I used that, and I come into work the next day, and the person was fired. So yes, it will take the path of least resistance. Obviously, something did happen that day that was fireworthy. It was not a attack at all. It was not an attack. What happened was they sold a minor who happened to be an undercover a drink, and, well, they got fired on the spot. Either way, it was the specific person that was talking about the thing that I wanted out of the workplace, and obviously within a day, it was out of the workplace. Now, I did add without harm. Now, I don't know if this individual had ended up getting a better job or not. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, this stuff will come about in a way that you're not going to expect it. If you're expecting the $1,000 to come through some lotto ticket you just got, 99.99% chance it's not going to be there, because also you're thinking about it, so you haven't let it go or forgotten about it. And that brings me to the next question, which I've also answered earlier in the video, but how do I know what I've manifested if I'm supposed to forget about it? This was something that I didn't understand, and it was just given to me to go get a journal. As I said earlier, track down your notes when you do them, whatever meditation, whatever. If you use someone else's technique, write down anything that you do. This is going to be almost like a diary. Now, leave that alone. You don't want to go back and read it. You want to definitely flip a few pages and not be able to see what you've written, because you might spark up a memory about it. But either way, a good 5 months down the road, usually I'd have to say with me, when something manifests, I will remember it on the spot. Like, oh, there was one time, and I'm going to go over this in a way later video. I'm not going to tell you what I did yet, but I was casting for a bunch of things that I didn't care about, and I'll explain why as well, because also it's easy to forget about things you don't care about. If you're wanting to practice this sort of thing, not only do things that you're wanting to come about, because it's hard to forget about things that you really, really want. So sometimes, every now and again, I will cast for things that I just really don't care about. Now, ever since I was a baby, I had never seen a peacock, at least not remember that I've seen a peacock, and I've always kind of wanted to see one in real life. Now, I casted to see a peacock, and in my area, there are no peacocks, at least not in this side of the state. But I have heard that other people have seen them. Never seen them. I've lived here for, I think, over 8-10 years, something like that. But I ended up seeing a peacock at the grocery store. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, I remember. And so a lot of the manifestations that kind of pop up, they might spark the idea and bam, you'll remember it. But there are some things that you won't remember. And I honestly think those are the coolest, because whenever I am going back and reading my journal, I'm like, holy crap. And it blows your mind, because it goes over your own head. It's like, wow, I wanted this to happen, and it happened, and I didn't even realize this happened. And those are my favorite. Now, like in the last question about forgetting about it, some people ask, how do I forget about it? Now, this goes back to the technique that Frater Xavier over at Mind and Magic gives, to accept or reject, or accept, banish, deny, whatever you want to say. Just don't use negative words. Your thoughts, treat them as an offer to accept or reject. And so after you get the practice of this, you will be able to train yourself and be able to control what thoughts are coming into your head and out of your head. And if they keep coming back, just keep rejecting them again. And so that's really all I've got to say about forgetting about it, other than finding something to do after you do the meditation that can get your mind out of it. You might notice like a week or two will go by and you'll think about it one day and you're like, oh, I haven't thought about it all week. If you do that, don't even trip about it. Don't even think like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Just immediately, nope, I reject that thought, and try to pull another thought in yourself. Just think about something else. This is why it's good to have a hobby or something that you're working for, your passion. As I've said, find your passion and start working towards it. This is one of the best ways to overall be able to create happiness from within. As I've said, your internal battery needs to be only able to be drained by you. Some people ask, and this was something that I asked specifically in the beginning for certain techniques that I was using, do I do this with my eyes open or closed? I'd have to say if you're gazing on a candle flame or a sigil or something else, yes, you want your eyes open. Now, there's a lot of meditation techniques where you don't have to keep your eyes open, where you can just imagine it. As I said in the one where I was helping out Vanessa doing the really basic symbolic banishing, you could do that with your eyes closed and imagine it just as you could with your eyes open. It depends on what you're better at. I tended to be better with my eyes closed at first, but I've gotten to the point where I do it with my eyes open now. But I'd have to say it really doesn't matter compared to how it... Whoa. Either way, just do whatever feels comfortable for you. You want to go with the gut feeling. Also, another way to forget about it is you could start working towards casting for new things. Start planning, thinking, you know what do I really want? Start working on a list. Start, whatever you want to do. Just get your mind off of it. Those of you that handle breakups really well should be really, really good at this. But always remember to keep moving yourself forward because this helps you keep your mind on what's going on now. Remember, stay in the present moment. And this will keep your mind off of things in the past and things that you've done, and it can quicken the manifestation like that. As I said, I've had things manifest within a day, just like the person that was talking about the thing that I didn't want talked about instantly got fired the next day. It can happen that quick. And let me tell you, after I did my candle technique, I came out and I did some dishes and I ended up reading a book, and I forgot about it by the time I ended up doing the dishes for the first few minutes. Once you get this down, once you start practicing, it will be easier, I'm telling you. But it will come as fast as you're wanting, as long as you forget about it, as I said earlier. Now, if you want to use statements of intent in your meditation, you can use them as mantras if you want. I've heard of people doing that. I haven't done that myself, I'm not going to lie. But what I would do, if you really wanted to see it, I would do a sigil, and I'm not going over that in this video. You can go watch that somewhere else. There's plenty of videos on them. But other than doing that, I would just write it on a piece of paper, and then I would have it on the table or floor in front of me wherever I was meditating. And I wouldn't focus on it completely. I'd kind of have it under my point of focus or above or whatever. And so I could really gaze out. And that would help, but I've heard a lot of people also use statements of intent when using the whole candle technique. You can put it under the candle itself, under the dish that's holding the candle, whatever you want to do. I've heard of people doing it in front of it. I have not used statements of intent in mine other than under the candle. It's the only way I've done it, so I can only tell you that's the only one I've done. Now, if you don't want to use the journal technique, sorry if this video is very jumpy. I'm going over a lot of tips that kind of come to mind, questions that I've been thinking about all day that I know that I had in the beginning of all of this. But something that I've used other than a journal before I got this whole thing started was I'd take sticky notes and I would fold them in half, the sticky part, so that it would stay shut. And I'd write whatever I did on that, fold it up, and I'd put it in my pillowcase. Because pick somewhere like under the mattress or something like that, somewhere you don't really go around. You only go around maybe like 3 to 5 times a year. If you find a place like this has helped me a lot because there's one cabinet in the kitchen right now that I've been living here for about 2 years now, I think a little bit over now, and I rarely open that cabinet. I've opened it maybe 2 times. But now that I'm talking about this, I just remembered I've had a sticky note in the back that I completely forgot about. And that's what I'm saying. Something that you won't even think about, and then bam. And that sticky note that's in there right now is from like a year and a half ago, and I just remembered about it because I haven't even gone in there in so long. You want to hide it in places like this that you know you're not going to stumble on for a while. And then you can be like, oh, and you can get those, I forgot about that moment. And make sure, if you're thinking about it one day, banish the thought, or if you want to feel more comfortable by switching it up somewhere else, switching it with another one, you can do that as well. I've done that before. Alright, this video has been trailing on. Honestly, my past few videos have been getting really long. I'm going to try to make them under 20 or 15 minutes from here on out, and now we're getting to the announcements part of this video. Number one, I'm going to try to put out a few more videos before the end of this month. Now, at some point, I'm going to be hiding out a little bit, but really I'm just going to be working on the course that should be coming out this April. I don't know when I'm going to kind of slow down on my video making. It might be around February or March, but I will try to post at least 2 or 3 times that month. Also, the Happiness Track series is canceled until further notice. Be sure to check out anything I left out of this video down in the description below. I put a lot of work in writing them out and leaving, or putting things in there that I leave out of the videos. Also, go and check out my Facebook and Instagram, links down below. I'm going to try to start posting more frequently. Also, be sure to check out my last video. And if you have not seen any of the How to Manifest Anything, you can click right here and see the How to Manifest Anything Part 1. And then right here, you can see the, that last video. And then click right here, subscribe, and make sure you hit the bell so that you get all the notifications. And as I've said before, I will for you all to prosper, and have a great day.